A man handcuffs his wife to the headboard, and after making sure she can't escape, he even takes one of those little performance pills to prove he still got it. But before anything can happen, the excitement gives the old man a sudden heart attack, and he collapses right on top of his wife. The most desperate part is, Jessie is completely chained down. She has to use her feet to prop up her husband's body, but no matter how she screams his name, he doesn't respond. His limp body suddenly loses all control. Jessie is still trying to wake her husband up until she sees the pool of blood on the floor. Her husband is gone. This means no one can unlock her handcuffs, and she's going to die here too. She starts screaming frantically, trying to get the attention of anyone passing by outside, but the two of them chose this place, in the middle of nowhere, for a thrill. She could scream her lungs out and no one would hear. Soon, night falls. She's used up all her energy. Suddenly, she hears a noise outside the door. It feels like a lifeline, and she immediately calls for help. But what walks in is a stray dog. The scent of fresh meat makes the hungry dog drool. Jessie kicks her legs wildly, trying to scare it away, but the smell of blood is just too tempting. Jessie can only watch in horror as it starts chewing on her husband's arm. After it's done with her husband, she'll be next. Her handcuffs only let her move up and down. She struggles to grab a book from the headboard, but the dog has already started to eat. The disgusting sight makes Jessie break down completely, but in the next second, her husband sits up. She begs him to unlock the handcuffs, but in the blink of an eye, he's back on the floor. Seeing two versions of her husband leaves her completely stunned. Is this some kind of hallucination before death? Her husband reminds her that he's gone for good. She shouldn't waste energy and time imagining someone will come to save her. From now on, she can only rely on herself. Jessie forces herself to think clearly. After looking around, she puts her hopes back on the handcuffs. She pulls with all her might, trying to break free. The sharp friction is agonizing. Luckily, her hands are small enough. After her narrow escape, she gets off the bed and even manages to snap the sturdy bedpost. But if something can go wrong, it will. She turns her head and sees herself still chained to the bed. Her husband reminds her that this bed was specially reinforced. It's impossible to break free, but another version of herself thinks it's actually quite simple. But Jessie can only sit on the bed, watching the two figures in her head argue endlessly. She closes her eyes, forcing herself to wake up. It's getting dark out, so there's no chance anyone will pass by. The phone on the shelf is her only way to call for help. She stretches out her leg, trying to hook the phone and pull it closer, but damn it, she's just a little bit short. Her husband's voice reminds her the phone battery is about to die. To make sure she doesn't get eaten by the dog, she has to stay alive. She remembers the glass of water her husband left on the shelf. She strains to grab the edge of the shelf, then tilts the other side up. She steadies her breathing, lifts the left side of the shelf, and the glass slides toward her right hand. Finally, she can get a drink of water. She looks at the glass by her lips with total desperation. Every time, it's so close, yet so far away. To avoid becoming the stray dog's next meal, she has no choice but to put the glass back. She'd have to stay put and think of a way out. Then she had an idea. The price tag from her clothes was still on the wooden headboard. She quickly pulled it off, rolled it into a straw, and used it to pull the glass of water back to her. Finally, she managed to get a drink. She still had no idea how long she was going to be trapped in here, so with her thirst finally relieved, she quickly drifted off to sleep. But then the stray dog by the door suddenly woke up, as if it had seen something, and darted outside. The barking outside woke Jessie. She noticed something in the corner of the room, a figure standing there, but when she took a closer look, it wasn't a person. She thought she must be hallucinating again. She tried to steady her breathing, but when she looked again, the strange-looking creature was still there. It moved closer and slowly started to open a large box it was holding. Jessie squeezed her eyes shut again, but then she heard her husband's voice. When she opened them, the creature was gone, but her husband told her to look toward the foot of the bed. A large hand was actually reaching out for her. Little Mouse. That nickname made Jessie feel sick. It brought back a terrible childhood memory of being abused by her father. Her family had gone to the beach to watch a total solar eclipse. She was afraid of the ocean, so her father stayed on the shore with her. He handed his daughter a homemade viewer he'd made, but while Jessie was mesmerized by the eclipse, her father noticed how much his daughter's body had developed. He asked her to sit on his lap, just like when she was a little girl. Looking at her daughter's delicate skin, she could no longer hold back the urge, and reached for her own body. As the eclipse ended, Jessie snapped awake. Her hand, trapped in the handcuff, was already swollen and numb. Every tiny movement was agonizing. Her legs started cramping, so all she could do was keep hitting them for some relief. On the floor, her husband's body had started to rot and smell so bad that even the dog wouldn't touch it anymore. For Jessie, this was a dark stain on her life, something she would never tell anyone. She couldn't even bear to think back on it herself. But even so, Jessie couldn't just let it go, because her monstrous father, even after he was gone, kept putting this immense pressure on her. He had said that if she did this, it would destroy their family and that everyone would turn on her. And that response was exactly what her father had wanted to hear. Her monstrous father told her that this was a secret she had to take to her grave. He said she had everything, but what did he know about right and wrong? With that one manipulative move from her father, Jesse had stepped into a bottomless pit. He had effortlessly created her nightmare. When she came to, a stray dog was greedily licking her leg. Luckily, she still had some strength, so the dog just tore off a piece of the bedding and backed away to the door. This was a huge wake-up call for Jessie. She knew that sooner or later, she'd be that dog's next meal, but having not eaten for so long, she didn't have the energy to stay conscious. In a daze, she found herself back in her childhood. Her father was acting like nothing had happened, all sweet with her mother, but the sight of it just made Jessie sick to her stomach. To cover things up, he took Jessie into the bathroom and used gauze to completely lock away. That secret was like a pair of handcuffs, locked on for years. She decided she had to break free from these shackles for good. Then she had an idea. Blood could work as a lubricant. That way, she might be able to slip her hand out. She knocked a glass of water off the shelf. It was do or die, so she might as well risk everything. She took a deep breath, picked up a shard of the broken glass, and sliced. Blood flowed instantly, but it wasn't nearly enough. She wedged the shard into the wooden headboard and forcefully dragged her hand across it, slicing it wide open. Blood poured out. Now, that was enough. She steeled herself and took her chance, pulling her hand from the cup, but the excruciating feeling of flesh being torn from bone almost made her pass out. With one last brutal pull, her skin and muscle tore away, and she was finally free. She quickly ran to the other side and pushed the bed towards the nightstand where her phone was. Then she lay down and used her feet to grab the phone, but all that hope turned to despair in an instant. The phone was dead. If she didn't figure something out fast, she was going to bleed to death. Her survival instinct kicked in, and she scrambled for the keys, but her injured hand was shaking uncontrollably, so she had to put the keys in her mouth to try and unlock the other cup. Finally, she got it unlocked. She rushed to the sink and gulped down mouthfuls of water. At last, her head started to clear. She frantically searched for something to wrap her arm with, but all she found was a pack of sanitary pads. She had no other choice. Gritting her teeth, she used one to stop the bleeding, but just when she was one step away from success, she collapsed from all the blood loss. The sound of gnawing startled her awake, and she discovered her husband's body was already swarming with insects. If she didn't leave, she knew she'd be next. So, with her last ounce of strength, she picked up the car keys, but when she turned around,